What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the part 11 of a story where Izuku became the shadow hero. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations, and support the amazing author MichalZielonka for writing this story. Now, let's get into part 11. In Paris, 11 hours till Russian Gate. Izuku got out of a meeting with the French Hero Association president. The Greenette smiled as he got the go-ahead from the man, allowing Izuku to complete every gate in France and to clean up any monsters that have broken out. The gamer knew that he is making more countries rely on him, but it is also to help reduce innocent casualties. So he meets up with the three outside. He gave a nod as they went forth. Poisonous flies, all dog types, all elite shadows and all ghoul types. Uriel will lead you, and Orochimaru. I want you to clean up France but also try leveling all elites higher. Collect all monster bodies and mana crystals. Izuku commanded gently with him, sensing that group leaving to most likely surround France and go from the outside in. French team. 35 skeleton warriors level 1, elite. 30 ghouls level 10, elite. 20 assassins level 10, elite. 25 archers level 10, elite. 10 spearmen level 10, elite. 36 ogre level 12, elite. 15 mage ghoul level 15, elite. 25 high ghoul level 1 knight. 10 ghoul giant level 1 knight. 15 dark ghoul level 1 knight. 40 Cerberus level 3 knight. 40 black shuck level 3 knight. 40 Bargus level 3 knight. 1-eyed ghoul king level 10 knight. 85 poisonous armored flies level 15 knight. 25 poisonous mage flies level 18 knight. 5-headed Cerberus level 18 knight. Queen of the poisonous flies level 1 elite knight. Uriel level 30 captain. Orochimaru level 33 captain. Gabriel spoke telepathically to Izuku. France isn't a big country, with it being similar to a state of the USA. That is a good call, darling, but you have less than 100 spaces left for new shadows. A hint of concern was heard in Izuku's mind. I plan on leaving the bodies in my inventory and erase them when I have more spaces, Tenchi. Izuku replied with a small smile. I got my shadows to clean up France from all the monsters. So what do you say, Cat Noir, want to patrol? Izuku asked, not minding either. The Black Cat hero spoke. Patrolling is a good call. Ladybug and I still need to find a way to deal with akumatized victims that have one of the powers of the miraculous. But even if he doesn't attack, dealing with petty crime, helping civilians and dealing with a gate or two would still be beneficial. Izuku hummed with a nod, as he got one 8-winged angel into Cat Noir's shadow secretly. Sure. Want to join us, Gabriel? Zest. I will be in your shadow, darling. With a gentle kiss on the lips, the angel went into Izuku's shadow. I wouldn't mind. With that, the three began to patrol Paris. Flashback to the Paris visit in summer. It was the last full day in Paris, where Izuku and Rumi were exploring the museums with Hisashi. A relaxing day, with the three Kwamis exploring the city with the two heroes. After they got out of the museum, Cat Noir messaged Izuku saying that the French hero president wanted to meet with him. The Greenette quickly arrived next to a building that looked like a small palace, where he was ushered in quickly. He was in a circular room with a man in his late 50s spoke. It is good to finally meet you, Izuku Midoriya. The man spoke respectfully. Izuku smiled and spoke back. The pleasure all mine, Mr. Valentine. With the two shaking hands, and with Izuku sitting in front of the desk Valentine was using. As you might have guessed, I and France want to form a contract with you. A paper was slid in front of Izuku. It is us employing you or your shadows to help France in any problems we may have in the future. The elderly man sighed. Our country has the least number of S-rankers in the world, with us having 6 S-rank heroes. 3 of them are in French Guiana keeping peace and helping with the prison, whilst another S-ranker goes all around France. Only Ladybug and Cat Noir stay in Paris, but they do patrol nearby cities too, so you can see why we will need more help if something arises in the future. Izuku nodded whilst he finished reading the contract and signed it. If I cannot come, I will send my shadow soldiers. Although Cat Noir has my number so he can call me anytime too. He smiled gently. But I will happily help, Mr. Valentine. The meeting went on for at least 40 more minutes, but at the end of the day, this was Izuku's first contract that wasn't based on gates, as they haven't appeared yet. Flashback end. Now the trio were jumping from one building to another, with Izuku's shadows cleaning any gate they find inside Paris. Izuku, Cat Noir and Zest went into a C-rank gate that had demon-type monsters, with them quickly and efficiently taking them down. Do you guys think I should leave some shadow soldiers in France secretly? Izuku communicated mentally to his soldiers, wanting to know their opinion. I do think that would be a good idea, my liege. The ones here can secretly take down any gates. Igris replied first. That would be beneficial for us and France, darling. They can also take the bodies for you to sell, as we know you have 2 runestones you want to buy. The strongest angel spoke next. Izuku hummed and spoke mentally. I want all vampires to stay in France, with Dracula leading them. He could feel that every shadow vampire bowing down, with the vampires that are out already doing so too. I will most likely do the same in Denmark and USA. With him musing that the night level vampires rose a level already. Vampire shadow staying in France. Dracula level 28, Captain. For Elder Vampire level 14, Captain. For Seductive Sinning Vampire level 10, Captain. 31 Dark Vampire level 7, Captain. 24 Gothic Vampire level 7, Captain. 5 Castle Dwelling Vampire level 23, Elite Knight. 46 Vampire level 6, Knight. And a French visit, 5 hours till Russian gate. Now the trio were saying their goodbyes. During the 6 hours of patrolling, they 3 had to deal with 2 more C-rank gates, had to stop minor crime and help some civilians. A hero's job isn't only to capture villains or deal with gates, it is to show that they are also present with them, helping the ones needing help too. Now Izuku used Kamui to travel with Zest to the next country. Denmark has 9 S-rank heroes, however most of them are rescue-orientated, with only 3 of them being in the front lines. A hero named Grab is one such example of a S-rank hero who specializes in rescue. His quirk is telekinesis up to 20 tons for anything but living beings. That being said, Izuku and Zest were now near the number 4 hero of Denmark. Grab. It is nice meeting you again, Grab. Let me introduce you to Zest. Izuku greeted the hero with a handshake. The man in his late 20s spoke with a smile. It is good seeing you again, Monarch, and nice meeting you, Zest. He shook hands with both of the arrivals. Grab looked at Izuku and spoke. Are you sure you are okay helping us? Don't you need rest? He asked, worried, as he does check the news. Izuku smiled but shook his head. I will be fine, and I am all healed up. I was asked to help preventing the water from rising. He tilted his head whilst Zest looking at Izuku, then at Grab curiously, with her also not truly believing in what Izuku said about himself. The hero nodded. If you are sure, then. We are having problems with the water rising around the Vencisel area. There are multiple cities that have informed us that the water level is higher compared to the previous years altogether. Grab sighed. We want to prevent anything from happening when winter and spring comes, as that is the time when flooding occurs. The heroes are already having their plates full of villains and gates, and they wanted to prevent extra casualties from natural disasters from happening. Humming, the green-eyed teen spoke but asked at the same time. I can help with that. I can grow trees that can absorb more water, lowering down the chances of flooding. Do you have any other ideas, Grab? Zest. I can use my quirk to adjust the earth, but my quirk is mostly used for support or attack. Zest spoke her thoughts. Grab, on the other hand, had his eyes widened minimally. Your quirk makes no sense, he grumbled. But that would be a good idea. What the government suggested, if you would agree, was to allow Denmark to be the home for some of your water-manipulating shadows. Don't worry, Denmark will also pay you for them being stationed here. 1 stone, 2 birds. Izuku thought with a mental smirk, but on the outside, he nodded. That is fair. Fisher, Vadiana, Rusalka, Power Angels, please come forth. With that, 102 shadows came out and kneeled in front of the trio. Most of you please stay north of Denmark, but like with the French team, please deal with gates and monsters. Once again, the number 4 hero of Denmark had his eyes widen. He knew from watching videos of Monarch's fights how strong those shadows were, especially Fisher, who was one of the 5 strongest shadows when Izuku fought All Might and Miruko. We are truly lucky that Monarch doesn't want to take over the world, as even with these 102 shadows he can take over every European country bar UK and Italy. The hero thought, then out loud he spoke. Thanks, Monarch. Let us go and plant those trees and see if we can adjust the earth. He smiled gratefully, as like many heroes, he didn't want innocents to die if they could have prevented it. Water manipulating shadows in Denmark. Fisher level 28, Captain. 14 Vadiana level 1, Captain. 37 Rusalka level 28, Elite Knight. 50 Power Angel level 18, Elite Knight, 6-winged. It only took an extra 3 hours for Izuku to plant more trees around northern Denmark. During that time Zest was speaking with some landscape architects. With their help she was able to modify some of the landscape to prevent flooding. Fisher, Rusalka, and 25 Power Angels would stay center and north of the country at all times with the Vadiana, and the remaining Power Angels going around Denmark patrolling. Why did the Denmark government ask Izuku to do it then not in the future? Was simple. As it is the beginning of autumn, the weather is slowly changing with more rain occurring. Now Izuku and Zest were joined by Gabriel for food. The trio went to the city named Aarhus to eat. We only have 2 hours left until we have to be in Russia. Zest spoke whilst eating a fish-based meal. I guess we can leave after we finish eating, Izuku said whilst eating a burger. Gabriel, who got the same as Izuku, gave a nod, as she was loving the burger. Russia, 1.5 hours till gate. Like asked of Izuku, the Greenet went to Moscow where he met up with Maxim and the Vice President of Russia. Thank goodness you have arrived, Monarch. Maxim, the Hero and Hunter Association President, said relieved. We may talk about business later, but please heal our President and Anna. Dmitri, the Vice President, asked. Lead the way. Izuku spoke with a nod, as they went towards the hospital with the 2 important figures, and some security. Hospital. Izuku was inside the room with Raphael. The both of them looked at Vladimir and Anna. My liege, he indeed was poisoned. However, the poison isn't something that we saw before. It doesn't do what it's supposed to. The second strongest angel spoke. The healer who was dealing with Vladimir and Anna spoke. Indeed. We believe that our president tried getting it out of the 2, with him only lessening the effects. The Greenet and Raphael nodded. I can heal him, but it will take at least 20 minutes to remove the poison. Raphael, can you heal Mr. Vladimir whilst I heal Anna, as you have stronger healing powers than I do? Izuku spoke, with the angel nodding. Izuku went towards Anna, the only surviving member of the Alpha Squad. Compared to Vladimir, the color of her skin was lighter, making Izuku think that the president of Russia tried saving the Alpha Squad. With that, the next 15 minutes passed in silence between Izuku and Raphael, with some doctors and nurses watching. After the 15-minute mark, Izuku already used up 13500 MP when he got a notification. Skill. Healer leveled up from level 9 to level max. Skill. Healer evolved into 2 skills. Regeneration and Blessing of the Healer. Skill. Regeneration passive. A passive skill that allows the user to have both HP and MP regenerate. This is the evolved form of healer, with it being at its final form. The regeneration per minute rate depends on the vitality and intelligence points. Skill. Blessing of the Healer, active. Can heal any injuries that do not deal with the soul. This is the evolved form of healer, with it being at its final form. 10 MP per second. If a skill doesn't show a level, this is the ultimate form of the skill. Izuku has muscularity, regeneration, dragon's will, blessing of the healer, shared inventory, and domain of the monarch in their ultimate forms. Also, the HP regen is 371 at the moment from Izuku's VIT points. With that, a greater potency PF healing was produced from Izuku, with it healing Anna in a minute after healer evolved. My MP is regenerating by 1160 per minute now, with 550 with intelligence and 510 with the rings. Izuku thought to himself as he finished healing the woman, with him moving to Vladimir to help Raphael healing him up. All done. Izuku spoke as both he and Raphael took a couple steps back from the 2 who were awakening from their medically induced comas. I am not dead. The president muttered, then he looked around and only saw Anna. Are we the only 2 who survived? He asked as one of the nurses gave him water. Maxim and Dmitri came into the room then, with Zest staying outside of the room. The vice president spoke. It is good having you back, sir. Unfortunately, yes, Anna here escaped with you on her back. Anna was helped by a nurse to sit up. I am sorry that I couldn't get anyone else. Some tears were going down her face. They were too powerful. Anna had long blonde hair, with light blue eyes, and if she stood up, she would be the height of 175 centimeters. Do not worry, Anna. Their deaths will not be in vain. Did you at least contact Monarch? Vladimir asked, with everyone bar himself sweat dropping as Izuku stood near him. Maxim pointed his head towards the location Izuku stood. I am glad that you are better now, Mr. Vladimir. The teen said respectfully towards one of the strongest people in the world who is also a president of a country. The 40-year-old man chuckled. Don't use Mr. You healed me up and you 2 are at national level. But thanks for healing me and Anna up. With Anna nodding in thanks too to both Izuku and Raphael. The young man had a small smile as he nodded. Raphael went back into his shadow, then he continued. I am here to help deal with the gate. I heard it's poisonous, but otherwise that is it. Can you two tell me more about the gate? Anna nodded as she spoke first after she cleaned her face from tear marks. It is an insect-type dungeon. Compared to the one in Jeju, all monsters were at least low S rank in strength and above. Vladimir continued. We dealt with over 1,000 when the poison began seeping in through the walls. I used my quirk to try and protect everyone, but then over 100 high S rank monsters came, and that was the moment we began to fail. He sighed sadly. The poison was getting to us, and with the monsters we were beginning to get overwhelmed, all whilst I was trying to get the poison out of everyone. That was the moment we heard a female voice. My quirk allows me to teleport, but when I saw everyone else getting killed with Sir Vladimir going unconscious, I took him and teleported to the entrance, where I later went limp. My plan was to at least inform others. Anna finished explaining. Izuku sighed as he spoke. That sounds similar to the dragon dungeon I completed a week ago. The monarch then spoke to himself. Whilst I have just over 2,000 shadow soldiers compared to over 3,300 shadow soldiers, this gate most likely is one of the larger armies. Izuku was thinking, not noticing other people's eyes being widened when he was talking about his shadows. Then he spoke normally. What insect-type monsters were they? Vladimir, being the first out of his stupor, spoke. The lower S-rank monsters were praying mantis, the mid-S ranks were mosquito types, with the high S ranks were something similar to the rhinoceros beetles. Sadly, I don't know anymore. Izuku nodded. Can one of you tell me where the gate is, so I will teleport there? The provisional hero asked. He saw Vladimir getting up from his bed, with Anna following suit. I am coming too. Whilst I may not be able to go into the gate, I can protect everyone if any of them escape. The president spoke. Izuku saw why people loved their country, a just and strong leader that is ready to face death to protect his subjects. I too will help. The blonde woman spoke, with determination being laced in her voice. Izuku nodded. I will teleport us there in 10 minutes. With that, the greenette left the room, giving the officials, president, and the hero some time. Seeing Zest, Izuku spoke. We are leaving in 10 minutes. Are you sure you want to come with us? He asked with some worry. Zest stood up from her seat. Yes, I will. Then she narrowed her eyes, looking at Izuku as she spoke quietly. Are you not overworking yourself? This week was shit for you, and do not lie to me. Your mental fatigue is rising. The greenette sighed as he leaned on the wall. Indeed, this week was busy for me, but that still isn't an excuse for me to stop helping when asked. Izuku then narrowed his eyes, looking at Zest as he continued to talk quietly. You also need to understand one thing, Zest. I am still a hero, or at least a provisional one. You are aware that a hero's work is never over, especially with the gates. Sure, the villain activity has dropped down, but the deaths of innocents are rising. I don't want any children to grow up without their parents. With that, Izuku left to get some fresh air. Zest had her eyes widened, hearing why Izuku continues working even if he is overworking himself. She went backwards onto the couch, and spoke to herself quietly. You need to understand, people would gladly help you. She stayed there for a couple of minutes until it was time to get towards the gate. However, Zest did also feel her respect rise for Izuku, but worry too. Now outside of the hospital, Izuku spoke to his shadows. Baruka, I want you to stay outside of the gate. Your ice powers will be increased with all of the snow and ice around the gate. Pain, when we get there, get ready to absorb any poison if the gate is broken. With the two nodding ready. Now the greenette waited for the 3 other participants. Russian gate location. Izuku, Zest, Vladimir, and Anna got teleported to the location of the gate with Izuku's Kamui. Straight off the bat, Izuku saw a barrier surrounding the gate from one of the heroes, with dozens of S ranks and over 100 A rank heroes surrounding it. The Russian army was behind them, all having their weapons pointing towards the gate. As the 4 materialized, relief went through every person seeing who came. Zest, Anna, and Vladimir knew that they only could deal with monsters that could have escaped, as they are not resistant against poisons. Thanks everyone for standing guard. Vladimir spoke in thanks, as they were in the western Siberia. Izuku began walking towards the gate, and spoke with his head turning towards everyone behind him. I will be leaving Baruka here, otherwise I will be going in. With that, Baruka came out from his shadow, but also Gabriel, Mikhail, Pain, Igris, and Raphael came out. With that, Izuku and his 5 of the strongest shadows came out. Even if Baruka was still a captain, his level was 48. He was nearing mid-national rank. It is a shame we couldn't help Monarch. Anna spoke with a sigh. Zest went up to her as she spoke. Only he has resistance to all poison, and as the gate readers say, this is a low national rank gate, meaning the boss is on the national scale. I know he will be able to do it. Vladimir spoke confidently as they continued to stand near the gate with the other heroes from Russia and other countries. Inside the gate, a large open space with multiple tunnels around. So insect types again. Izuku summoned Demon King's longsword in his right hand and the chain of 1,000 miles in his left hand, as he wants to try using a different weapon type. Weapons. Name: Demon King's longsword. Item class: S. Type: longsword. Attack plus 400. Longsword brimming with the Demon King's power. Every time the sword is swung, the effect Storm of White Flames will activate. Effect Storm of White Flames. Summon a storm of endless lightning within a certain area. Name: Split Soul Katana. Item class: SS. Type: katana. Attack plus 700. A katana that can cut through not only the body but the soul. If a living organism is cut, then they can no longer heal that area, but if killed, then the soul would never be risen again. Effect Soul Destroyer. Can cut through the soul, permanently killing or injuring the opponent. Name: Inverted Spear of Heaven. Item class: SS. Type: spear. Attack plus 600. A spear with a shorter handle that allows to pierce any and all defenses. Effect Defense Nullification. All defenses are ignored. Name: Chain of 1,000 miles. Item class: S. Type: chain. A chain made up of metal that can be attached onto another weapon or used by itself. It holds no attack damage, but it can extend endlessly. Effect Never-Ending Chain. As long as one end of a chain is hidden from view, the length of the chain can be endless. Name: Playful Cloud. Item class: S. Type: staff. Attack SDRX-10. A 3-part staff that can deal unimaginable damage when something is hit. Effect Blunt Force. The force of the Playful Cloud can be anything up to the strength points multiplied by 10 of the users. With the creator. Thinking you have defeated one of the 5 original dragons, how foolish. The old man spoke under his breath. That was only the child of the original. What he is talking about was that the supernatural defeated Trahexa was the oldest and strongest child of the original Apocalypse Dragon. Trahexa, who is sleeping. The oldest child of the 5 sleeping dragons, all adopted the name of their parent, but they only hold 1/3 of their parent's strength. Soon young Shadow Monarch, the child of salvation, will be coming to Earth. However, it doesn't have good intentions, for humans at least. The creator sighed. Although he is quite pleased with Izuku's progress, he might visit him soon. Good luck dealing with one of the 8, my child. With Zetsu. After hearing the permission to eat all of the grunts, the original body of Zetsu went towards a secluded part of Japan. Now with a smile, he began absorbing the grunts that worked for overhaul. It might have taken him nearly 5 hours to eat 228 dead bodies, but Zetsu increased his level by 14. That is how his power worked. Some of the soul that a body has is converted into permanent energy, increasing his powers a fraction each time. Zetsu level 20, Captain, to Zetsu level 34, Captain. Omake. Rumi was patrolling the streets of Tokyo when she found a store that sells hero merchandise. A smirk appeared on her face when she saw one thing. Walking in like she had a purpose, she took a shopping cart and began taking the different merchandise that caught her eye, which mind you was a lot. Now Izuku was coming from his lesson, when he saw Rumi, Nijire and Gabriel fussing over something. Walking towards them, he faces palmed. I won't even ask. In front of Izuku, there was a body pillow of himself in his hero's suit, different clothes with his style, plushies of himself. But there were more plushies, one of Igris, Burrow, Gabriel, Slimy, Raphael, Pain, Mikhail, dragons, and over 100 more plushies. Now the 3 girls promised each other to find each new merch of the Shadow Hero to make their collection the largest, ignoring that they had the original hero next to them. With Michael. The leader of the angels was sitting on the throne looking at a device that his father used when he was alive. I need to send some help to the Vatican, it seems. An A-rank gate opened there. Michael mused to himself, but he knew that most likely the Italy's national rank hero would deal with that as she is in Rome. Then one person came into the throne room. Hello Gabriel, what brings you here? Michael asked his sister with a smile. I have a twin. She spoke as she showed Michael a picture of the shadow soldier Gabriel that looked exactly like the original angel but with slightly larger wings. Michael couldn't help but chuckle to escape his lips. You will meet her with Izuku on Tuesday, so don't worry. But it was already known for nearly 2 months now. Gabriel pouted. One of the angels told me about that there is a separate angel army made of shadows, so I found out that there is also Uriel and Raphael. Even Zadkiel is there, but you aren't. Why? The leader of the angels began to sweat. The first S-rank gate was with angels, which Izuku dealt with. Apparently the Michael from there wasn't the best. Now Gabriel was giving a stink eye towards her older brother. And Izuku couldn't get that version of me as his soldier. That day the leader of the angels was reprimanded for a different version of himself being mean. With all might. The hero who is also the president of the Hero and Hunter Association sighed once again. Sir Night Eye told him that multiple countries are asking for Izuku's help, from dealing with monsters that escaped gates to having Izuku or one of his shadows heal people. I need to talk to young Izuku. I am glad that he actually is in Russia. Now our relationship with that country will increase. Then he looked out of the window that overlooks Tokyo. The villain incident rate is now at 2% compared to the 6% from 3 months ago. However, Trigger is slowly rising again. All Might continued to think to himself. Going back to his desk to see his paperwork pile was increased magically, he sighed and read the top paper. Yaoyoro's company basically wants to get the potions Izuku creates again. That is one of the basic documents that Toshinori has to reject. He knew the power of even a simple potion and compared to the one he drank. I wonder if I can get young Izuku to sell them himself and not have a different company sell them. All Might was glad that both China and South Korean scientists couldn't figure out the way Izuku created them. It was another hour when he thought of something. I will need to visit All for One. As from Izuku's report, his shadows still didn't find Nana. Back with Izuku. Izuku summoned Demon King's longsword in his right hand and the chain of 1,000 miles in his left hand, as he wants to try using a different weapon types. Holding one end hidden, he slowly began twirling the other end. Izuku saw that he has leveled up twice from what his shadows dealt with in France, Denmark, Africa and even Japan, so he was glad about that, with more monsters and mana stones in his inventory. They are coming. Gabriel, Mikhail, Pain, Igris, and Raphael prepared themselves, Gabriel and Raphael preparing magic circles. Igris got Michael's longsword out, Mikhail and Pain tensed lightly getting ready. Projectiles were sent with Pain putting a barrier. The group realized the projectiles were made of blood. When the barrier was down, Izuku used the chain he was holding to extend and capture 2 monsters with him, slashing the 2 down with his long sword. Blood manipulating mosquitoes. The Shadow Monarch spoke. A mid-S rank opponent indeed. Arise. With that, 2 mosquitoes that had the height of 3 meters rose up. Their noses were large with them having 4 wings at the back. They had 6 insect-type legs too. 2 blood mosquitoes level 1, Captain. Nodding at them with a small smile, the 2 went into his shadow, with the 5 shadows starting to deal with the other blood-manipulating mosquitoes. Even if they are fast for S-rank heroes to have trouble, we only have to deal with a dozen at most at a time. Gabriel stated her observation as she easily shot multiple down. Indeed, I thought it will be similar to Jeju. Mikhail spoke. He too used one of his mouths to shoot spikes, killing them. The reason will be coming soon. I think the rhino beetles or whatever they are called will be rushing towards us in a minute. The liege spoke to his generals and commander. During the time walking in the dungeon, he arose 48 more blood mosquitoes, making a total of 50 with them all in his shadow. He left some of his shadows to collect any mana stones and corpses to place them in his shared inventory. Izuku will arise them when he has more space in his safe shadow. The new monsters were rushing towards the group. Izuku desummoned the 2 weapons with him, summoning the Lance of Longinus in his left hand. Using his right hand, he pointed his pointer and middle fingers horizontally towards the group of over 200 monsters rushing to the small group. Total pressure. Whilst he said that, those 2 fingers flicked downwards, indicating that Izuku increased the pressure. All of the monsters fell stomach down flat on their stomach, with Izuku using Darkness Overlord to make spikes, killing them all. The young man killed over 200 high S-rank monsters just like that. He threw the spear with spear throw at 2 more monsters, piercing them at once. You leveled up. Gabriel and Raphael were shooting concentrated light beams at any and all monsters that were coming in, but they didn't need to, from Igris using cleansing from Michael's longsword, killing another 130 monsters. Mikhail and Pain were teaming up, dealing with the praying mantis monsters that were rushing towards the group. The praying mantis monsters were nearly 4-meter tall green monsters That is basically a larger and more intimidating version of the praying mantis that could be found in the wild. They also had spikes coming from their joints. The blue monsters that Izuku killed are the rhinoceros beetle look-alike, but their length was around 4 meters long compared to their 1.5 meters height. They had thicker legs and the ability to fly too. However, the high S-rank monsters also had a hardening ability, but even with that the darkness overlord killed most of them. Izuku sighed as he saw the poison that was coming from the corners of dungeon. Going closer, he saw that this didn't affect him as the system cleared it. It seems that we are getting closer. He left some of his shadows to clean up as he continued forth. Darling, this seems to be a minor problem. Gabriel spoke when some of the poison touched her. The young man looked into his MP and nodded. I see, this poison is causing you to regenerate at a faster rate. Don't worry, my MP is easily regenerating. Izuku smiled lightly as he squeezed his girlfriend's hand. Pain began absorbing the poison to see better. However, then a voice began to speak, a woman's voice. In a seductive tone, that woman began to speak. Oh my, if it isn't my love. Narrowing his eyes, Izuku spoke. Are you talking to me? He could see Gabriel tensing at the corner of his eyes with Mikhail, Igris, Pain, and Raphael coming closer. I am my love. Have you forgotten me? A tall and extremely attractive young woman with glowing red eyes, pale skin, long flowing black hair, dark purple lips, large breasts, a voluptuous figure with insectal characteristics, particularly on her legs and arms. She is wearing greenish-black armor that left her upper cleavage and shoulders exposed. Nope. Never seen you. Although something is telling me that I met you. Izuku spoke with a deadpan whilst thinking what power. Then at that instant she was behind Izuku with an arm around his shoulder. The greenet's danger sense didn't go off, so he knew that she didn't have bad intentions. But that woman used her mana to form a wall blocking the 5 shadows. You are aware that I can deploy my shadows with ease, and you are not even touching me. Izuku spoke calmly. He had Infinity activated, but it was only 0.5 centimeters thick. I am aware, my love. She traced her finger across Izuku's jawline above the Infinity. Whilst this barrier is annoying, that I cannot actually touch you. I guess I need to introduce myself, Shadow Monarch. The woman took a step backwards and bowed. I am Quiracia, otherwise known as the Plague Monarch and the Queen of Insects. Another monarch. Izuku spoke calmly. I have so many questions it isn't funny. Would you mind if we spoke calmly, without any fighting from both sides? I would like that, my love, but I will ask questions too. With that she got the mana barrier to be taken down, with her thinking that one of Izuku's soldiers was absorbing her mana from the barrier was annoying but a useful soldier. Can you please go back to my shadow? He saw them about to protest. My danger sense isn't sensing any danger, meaning that she doesn't want to kill me. All of them bowed and went into Izuku's shadow except Gabriel. You too, Tenchi, please. The angel huffed and spoke. He is mine. With that she kissed Izuku and went into his shadow with the young man had a small loving smile. Then Izuku rose his brows seeing Quiracia have a twitching eye, so he decided to speak. I have 3 girlfriends, with Gabriel being one. A loving tone was used with that, as he saw the insects that the other monarch control all go into a green portal. Most likely something similar to my shadow, a separate dimension. He thought internally. Don't worry, love, I won't kill them, but please tell me more. A sweet tone was used by the Plague Monarch. Izuku sighed and spoke. Before we start talking, are you the so-called boss of this gate? I am, my love. Now can you tell me more about those 3? Izuku understood that it was question answered for a question. He summoned a picnic table and 2 cups that he filled with tea, that had Quiracia have her eyebrow risen. The greenette invited her to sit in front of him with him taking a sip of some tea, all whilst being inside a dungeon that a different monarch is the boss of. Rumi, Gabriel and Nijire. You have already met with Gabriel. Rumi and Nijire are both in Japan, whilst we are in Russia. Then Izuku took a picture of the 4 of them out of his hero suit's pocket, and showed it to Quiracia. This one is Rumi and the brunette is Nijire. I guess that is an acceptable answer. The Queen of Insects finished by drinking some of her tea, with her human hands compared to her insect hands. I have parts of ASHBORN's memories, but why have the gates appeared on Earth? Izuku asked as he took another sip. Earth only had gates appear around 2 months ago. The female snorted. It wasn't us who actually are doing it, my love. Our original plan was to surprise Earth at once, with us defeating it in one fell swoop. It was the Creator who made those things here. She spread her arms out. He is making the humans defeat our armies. Izuku hummed as he nodded. What do you know from the memories of ASHBORN, my love? I only know a little, Croatia. I saw ASHBORN fighting a ruler, I think, then he had to fight the beast and demonic armies. It seemed like he was betrayed by them. The Shadow Monarch explained. But that is all I know. That explains why your black heart is partially sealed, my love. Croatia answered another of her questions herself. How is my black heart partially sealed? Izuku asked, a little surprised. Each of the monarchs has a black heart, my love, whilst you are strong with it being partially sealed, but imagine the gain of power if you unlocked it. The Plague Monarch licked her lips. It seems you have a really similar personality to ASHBORN, and I guess you are protecting those humans. Izuku only refilled his and Croatia teacups as he nodded. Guilty as charged. You are right, although if I weren't on Earth, you would have easily taken over it by now with the gates only. Their reliance on me is quite, how should I say it, concerning. One of the strongest humans fell because of your insects and poisons, so you get the picture. However, on the upside, I am gaining power from me or my children defeating them. The Queen of Insects had a genuine smile as she too treated her army as her children. That presence that I felt, his power was quite annoying, but nothing I couldn't have dealt with ease. She then spotted the ring around Izuku's neck and realized something. I will give you an offer, my love. I am listening. He hummed as he rested his head on his hand. I will help you unlock your black heart, but we will be lovers again. A seductive smile appeared on her face. Izuku's eyes minimally opened wide. Again. So you are saying you and ASHBORN were lovers? With her nodding with a smirk. Are you not replacing him with me? If I fall in love, it is with someone who actually loves me. And wouldn't that be painful for you? Whilst I may have his powers, I don't think I am him. He spoke calmly but had some worry. Croatia smiled gently. Whilst I know that I have watched how you started from nothing to something. How do you think you actually gained the resistance to all poisons? Then she placed her hand on Izuku's own. You might not know a lot about me, but I am willing to wait. A loving tone was used. Now Izuku had his eyes widened fully with him gently squeezing her hand in gratitude. I must thanks. Without resistance to poisons I wouldn't have gone far. Now the greenette also had a small smile but asked as he was confused about one thing. But how could you leave the gate? The boss can't escape it. The ring you have around your neck, it is one of the creator's artifacts. It is called Braham's ring if I am not mistaken, my love. I will agree to be sealed there, but in return we will date, and I can explore this human world. Croatia gave her offer. Item. Braham's ring. Item class. S. Type. Accessory, sealing. Plus 20% protection against mental attacks. Braham's ring is a modified ring that can seal one entity no matter how strong they are. The entity can be released but the owner can control how much power can be given to the sealed entity. However, the entity sealed must give its consent. Only if you talk with Gabriel, Rumi and Nijire. If they agree I will, that is a promise I gave them and I won't break it. But are you okay with that? Izuku asked gently. For the first time since she was locked away with other monarchs, that was for trillions and trillions of years ago, her stomach had butterflies hearing her love worrying about her. I accept. Both standing up, Izuku took his ring off his neck and spoke. Croatia, do you consent to be sealed inside Braham's ring? I do. With that a red magic circle appeared under Croatia's feet and then a second later she was transported into the ring. Can you hear me, my love? She asked through the mental connection that the ring gives, with Izuku placing the ring on the string around his neck. I do, Croatia. I will release you when I finish here. With that Izuku spread his shadows to collect every mana stone and dead body to place it in his shared inventory. Darling, why have you allowed that woman to go with you? Gabriel rose from Izuku's shadow to ask the question. I didn't feel any bloodlust from her at all, and don't worry Tenchi, you can talk to her after we finish dealing with this gate. Izuku gave a kiss to her cheek and gently took her hand as they began to walk out. Whilst Gabriel admitted to herself that she indeed needs to talk with the Plague Monarch to see what is her deal with Rumi and Nijire. Outside of the gate. No monsters came out of the gate, making Baruka bored, with him having to wait 2 hours for his liege to come out. A smile appeared on his face when his liege came as he bowed and went into Izuku's shadow. I am back, it is all dealt with, the young monarch said. Zest rushed and hugged Izuku quickly. Well done, Izuku. How, that fast? Anna spoke. It takes Squad Alpha at least 2 hours to deal with in a rank. Is this the power of Monarch? She spoke to herself. Vladimir whispered to her. And remember, From what I heard, he didn't rest after fighting Toji Fushiguro when he went to France and then to Denmark. Mind you, he was finishing a night patrol when he dealt with Toji. Indeed. She spoke still in awe. Izuku walked up to Vladimir. As much as I would love and stay, I have to be going to Japan soon. That is understandable. Once again, I want to thanks for this, but please come to Russia again. I promise you will enjoy it. The president spoke as he extended his arm for a handshake. The provisional hero smiled and nodded, giving a handshake. I will. Then he taken a couple steps back. This may not be much, but Izuku taken out a half of all mana ores his shadows collected from this gate. That is worth a couple $1 billion altogether. I'll be seeing you soon. With that, Izuku used Kamui for him and Zest to go back to his dorm, but he miscalculated a bit with him going to the common room, where he fell face first onto the couch, falling asleep instantly. Zest landed on her feet but then fell on a couch. Warm, Russia was cold. She was lucky Izuku gave her winter clothes, but in her opinion, she is made for summer, not winter. Shoko walked up to Izuku and poked his cheek. He's asleep. A small smile appeared on her face as she was nearing his cheek with her face. Gabriel came out and was about to speak, when Nijire rushed from the elevator to hug Izuku's sleeping form, all whilst ignoring Zest and having Shoko take a couple steps back from a mysterious force. Back to Russia. Vladimir walked slowly towards the pile as he spoke lightly. Not much, my ass. This can power all of Europe for a couple of months. Then he sighed with him, speaking louder for everyone. I want to thank every one of you for coming and helping, even if Monarch dealt with the gate. The mana stones that Monarch gave us will be shared between everyone here and the late Squad Alpha. To the heroes who came here from other countries, you are also included, but also I hope that our relationship with your country will improve. He finished as he saw the heroes, medical personnel, the army have higher spirits. The president might have also realized that the media was also there, but he didn't care about that. He was happy that the gate was dealt with, and his people are safe. An hour later, Vladimir and Maxim were sitting in a train that is transporting them back towards Moscow when Maxim spoke. I think we need to employ Monarch to help us deal with the monster forest. That would be needed. Being a president and a national rank is harder now. The man sighed as he drank some vodka. 2 hours. That is the quickest time that an S rank was completed, even if there were 6 of them in the world. He and his shadows are useful. He chuckled good-naturedly. I think that he was tired, so he deployed every shadow to deal with them. If Monarch can actually make his soldiers from dead monsters, the fight against them would become faster and faster. Additionally, you and Squad Alpha dealt a lot of damage too. Yeah, form a contract for Monarch, as I forgot to get his number. Maxim's sweat dropped from what his president's forgetful nature. With the creator. A smirk appeared on his face. All according to plan. He chuckled lightly. The almighty creator may or may have not given the plague monarch the possibility of entering the human world through a gate, and he too may or may have not given the ring into Izuku's inventory. One of the 8 will help you, my dear child, but remember the 7 others are not like her, so you will have to fight them. However, this plan also benefited the creator. Now he didn't need use more power to hold down Croatia, with him only using his power to hold down the 7 others. Although I must warn you, soon one of the children of the sleeping helpers will be nearing Earth, like I said not long ago. The old man sighed, hoping that Izuku can deal with it. Now the teen also had Croatia with him. With Izuku waking up from Nijire hugging him, he gently smiled and spoke to Croatia. This is Nijire. She is bubbly, adorable, and can give the best hugs. Then as he was straddled on the couch, he spoke. I would love to hug back, but you are straddling me. Izuku teased Nijire. I see. This human acts innocently. Croatia spoke through the mental connection of the ring. You know how worried I was when I saw you after the fight with Toji. Some tears escaped her eyes, with Izuku feeling them. You nearly died there and then. Izuku adjusted his body, with him hugging Nijire still on the couch in the common room. I am sorry, Nijire. I am back and I am taking a break after we deal with tomorrow. Good, otherwise I would have to kidnap you. Oh, and Izu allowed us to go to Canada until Wednesday, as he too feels like you are overworking yourself, Suzu. That idea of yours, and no doubt the rabbits, is good indeed. I am also guessing that she is coming along too. Gabriel spoke as she made Izuku and Nijire levitate, with Izuku using float to help. Both Izuku and Gabriel knew that Nijire won't let the greenette stand at all. That was the reason of this particular way of travel, all whilst ignoring some of Izuku's classmates and Zest. Taking a minute to enter his room, Izuku spoke. Honestly, Nijire, if Gabriel wasn't there to save me, I indeed would have died. As he hugged Nijire a little tighter, with his other hand binding Gabriel in for the hug. Rumi will be coming in an hour. The brunette spoke as she continued to hug Izuku's chest. Darling, you need to rest. You didn't sleep for nearly 2 days, had to deal with the national rank villain, nearly died, helped 2 countries and dealt with the S-rank dungeon. Gabriel reprimanded her boyfriend. Don't worry, that is what I plan to. However, I have also learned that I need more experience fighting human-like opponents. Whilst I can defeat S-rank heroes, it is the national rank villains that can cause me the most trouble. Izuku spoke gently. After the break I will ask All Might to spar with me. You need rest now, Zuzu. He smiled as he kissed both of his girlfriend's temples. Both Kaki and Sass came out of their miraculous, and now the 5 continued to hug. Until Izuku heard a cough. Ah yes. Before I fall asleep. Izuku used around 10,000 MP to summon Quirk. However, to his and her surprise, she was as barely 40 centimeters tall, with it being her small form. You need to place more mana into it to make my size be original, my love. Quirk complained, but squeaked when Gabriel grabbed her. Unhand me, Shadow. My. This is for blocking me when you were speaking with Darling. A small but sadistic smile was on Gabriel's face. Let me introduce you, this here is Quirk. She voluntarily sealed inside the ring I received not that long ago, actually. Not only was she the boss of the S-rank gate, but the queen of insects and the plague monarch. Izuku introduced her to Nijire. Oh, what can you do? What are your powers? Why are you so small? Why did you call Zuzu your love? Can you summon insects? Nijire continued to question the female monarch, all whilst she tried using Gabriel's hands to block the brunette. My love, save me. But when she looked at Izuku, he was nodding off to sleep. Sleep, darling, we will talk with our new guest. Gabriel spoke gently, with Izuku nodding lightly as he fell asleep there and then. Finally, darling is resting. He deserves it. She thought with a small loving smile, all whilst keeping a grip on the miniature form of Quirk. Now let us talk in private. She walked towards the chimney-sitting area whilst moving her head to let Nijire follow them. Unhand me, don't you know who I am? Oh, I very well do, and I knew that darling wouldn't let you out in your true form. Nijire looked nervously between the two as she asked. Gabriel. What happened exactly? Whilst pouting about not having any of her questions answered. This insect here summoned a barrier that hit my face. Gabriel mumbled out, as when Quirk produced the mana barrier, as it expanded it hit the angel's face, and during the time the barrier was up she couldn't damage it, with only pain being able to absorb it. That means you are weak. The plague monarch gasped as she was being suffocated. Using her mana manipulation, she made a small barrier around her body, allowing herself to breathe. If I so wanted, I could summon my army right here and now, and with my love sleeping you would be powerless. The big 3-member piped in. So you can summon insects like Zuzu can summon his shadow soldiers. That is interesting, and I can see you have energy manipulation. Can you tell me how that works? I can do it easily. Wait, why am I answering? Anyways, where is the Rumi or rabbit that my love was talking about? With Nijire pointing towards Izuku's bed where Rumi was snuggling with Izuku. Both Gabriel and Quirk had their eyes twitching, with Nijire continuing. I will talk to you tomorrow, Quirk, good night. With that, the brunette went under the covers to hug Izuku. You won't be letting me go, will you? The plague monarch used a sarcastic tone. I just want to make one thing certain. I am aware that you helped Darling by giving him resistance to poisons of all kinds, but what is your goal? The angel narrowed her eyes, with Quirk seeing other shadows nodding to what Gabriel spoke. The same thing as you and the other 2 humans. I will make my love fall in love with me, and don't worry, Shadow. I won't be killing off any of the 3 of you, as my love will hate me. A smirk appeared on her miniature form. Although if I remember right from when I was looking at my love, you 3 are not the only ones that love him. The dark-skinned human, and some others too, do they not? And what is your point? Gabriel had her eyes narrow further. Simple, I can use some basic powers of mine whilst being in the ring. You saw the white-haired female who poked my love mysteriously go back. I think our friendship will be beneficial, but I promise you I will become stronger, as it is no fun defeating you like you are now. A smirk appeared on the angel's face. With Shoko. After poking Izuku, a force pulled her off. She had her eyes narrowed at Gabriel and then at the ring Izuku was wearing around his neck, then she shook of those thoughts. Shoko wanted to ask Izuku if he could come for a family dinner, as her mother wanted to thank him on last day of school. Her father, Endeavor, was trying his hardest for the forgiveness of his children, and for that very reason Enji was helping his daughter to get Izuku to be hers. Africa Team. All of the Dracos split from the group that is going back to Japan. Currently each of them was in 50 groups of 8 each, with there being one Draco of every element. They started from the west side of the continent with each group sticking near each other. The 400 already had to deal with over 1,000 monsters, but were glad that the heroes of Africa were dealing with the gates better than USA. The team going back to Japan. When Izuku asked them to go back to Japan, it took them a couple hours to go there but did as their liege commanded them to. Now the group of 169 split, and now were patrolling Japan. Some dealt with gates, some helped the civilians, while some helped heroes deal with villains. But nothing worth note was occurring with them but Konan, the female Akatsuki member, was floating in the air as she shot paper from her arms. Konan was helping stabilize a building that was falling down, with some armored wolves and monkeys coming soon and helping evacuate the people inside with the local heroes, police, and firefighters. Internet. Izuku Midoriya, otherwise known as the Shadow Hero. Monarch is a provisional hero from UA. There are multiple websites on him, all depicting his powers and different shadow soldiers. The most popular out of them all also has the most information, but there are still questions that can't be answered. It showed the general information such as the name, height, body proportions, defining features. The quirk name adapter is used, however under it is what many people look. It shows the known abilities of Izuku, with them being bloodlust, fire manipulation, invisibility, gravity manipulation, healing, shadow manipulation, flight, infinity barrier, shadow extraction, domain of the monarch, shadow exchange, teleportation, kamui, teleportation, permeability, wood creation. However, the greenet has more, such as smoke screen, which wasn't seen yet as it is the newest, or spear throw isn't known due to the people thinking it is just a normal throw of a spear. Some abilities Izuku didn't even show to the outside, such as the SUKUNA. However, there are many subtopics that are on that website. Shadow soldiers, under that category all of the different shadows are shown, and their ranks if they are known. All of the shadows that were present at the All for One versus All Might and Izuku battle are documented, with more being documented from when they have left Izuku's shadow on the Himalayan mountains. There are over 100 different shadows from over 150 different shadow types Izuku has currently. Potions, little information is known, but is known that Izuku produces them, and there are 5 potions that Izuku gave out that isn't used. There are a couple of videos of Izuku drinking one, and surprisingly Nijire and Rumi drinking 1 or 2 there too. Izuku's fan club risen and have united to get to know the most about the young hero. However, they all knew that they only scratched the surface of what truly is Izuku Midoriya. There are also conspiracies that Izuku somehow gave the powers of telekinesis to Rumi and explosions to Nijire, but they have no evidence at all. Omake. Kathleen was getting out of her office with a small smirk. Her plan of getting Izuku and Zest together is working splendidly. However, at that moment she remembered one thing: her luck was the worst in the world. How did she remember it? The #1 hero of America tripped on her own legs, falling onto the floor that mysteriously had purple paint. Standing up and grumbling about the paint, she decided to get a shower, but as she was about to open her door, those doors fell inwards into her room. Kathleen blinked dumbly. Don't tell me. I used all of my luck to get Zest with Izuku, and this is what I get. I want a refund. As then she fell through the floor due to the unstable ground, coma. I give up. With burrow. The strongest insect went towards a forest and making sure that no one was near him when he began taking the 11 bodies he was allowed to eat. Now Burrow smiled, knowing that not only will this increase his level but gain him abilities that his liege wanted. It only taken him 30 minutes to eat them all up and clean up the mess. Then he began practicing with some of the powers he could use. Burrow level 11 to level 18, General. Quirks. Muscle augmentation, overhaul, chronostasis, mimicry, confession, energy suck, larceny, crystallize, food, strong arm, sloshed, barrier. Burrow chuckled to himself when hair grew on his head that looked like arrows, then a thought of asking his favorite non-liege person to braid it. For the rest of the night Burrow continued to practice the new quirks inside some low-level gates or outside quietly. Burrow quirks. 1. Muscle augmentation, muscular, allows to amplify, augment, and manipulate muscle layers inside and outside of their body, granting immense strength, speed, and durability. 2. Overhaul, disassemble and reassemble things through hand contact. 3. Chronostasis, Hari Kurono, grows hair allowing to slow down movement of anything. 4. Mimicry, Joy Aranaka, allows the user to transfer his consciousness into an object gaining full control of it. 5. Confession, Shin Nemoto, forces people to tell the truth. 6. Energy Suck, Rikia Katsukame, allows to absorb people's stamina and in result increases his size. 7. Larceny, Toya Setsuno, allows to steal anything from someone's hand. 8. Crystallize, Yu Hojo, produces crystals on the body that can be used for defense or attack. 9. Food, Sorimitsu Tabe, allows to consume anything within seconds. 10. Strongarm, Kendo Rappa, allows the rotation of the shoulders at extreme speed and strength. 11. Sloshed, Didoro Sakaki, allows to make others feel drunk by messing with the opponent's sense of balance. 12. Barrier, Hekiji Tenai, creates a yellow barrier that is of a rank strength but the user cannot move. In Izuku's dorm room, the alarm sounded at 5 a.m., waking the occupants of the bed which had once again increased. Izuku was hugged by Rumi on his left side, Gabriel on his right side, Nijire on his stomach and finally Quirasha in her miniature form on his head that had the 3 kwamis too. I don't even want to ask. Izuku thought to himself. We have to wake up, we have a partially busy day today. Gabriel looked at Quirasha who quickly went back into the ring, not wanting to be squeezed to death again. Still too early. Rumi murmured whilst hugging Izuku tighter. Too early. Nijire parroted, Gabriel nodded with the 2. A small smile was on Izuku's face as he spoke. I'll make breakfast. This instantly got the 3 to awaken, all of them loved Izuku's cooking. Bathroom. Izuku was in the bathroom finishing changing when a smile appeared on his face. Well done Baruka and Conan for reaching general rank. I am thankful to my liege, we can finally talk. An icy tone was heard when Baruka materialized next to Izuku. Me too my liege, this was a wish of mine for us to finally converse. A smiling Conan spoke with a small blush seeing the shirtless young man she is under command. After we deal with the raid. Izuku spoke with some sarcasm that both shadows had a light smirk. I have something to celebrate the increase of generals and the level ups. The 2 shadows chuckled knowing the truth of the raid. My beautiful liege, I have done what you asked me to. Burrow the now highest ranking general spoke. Love. Is that, he's adorable. The queen of insects cooed. I'll introduce you to Burrow later, but he's the 10th strongest in the army. Izuku explained. Well done Burrow, I know you want to test more of those abilities, so when I have free time, we can fight. Thanks my liege, I love you. Burrow said hugging Izuku's legs whilst the monarch patted the insect on the head. By now every shadow understood that Burrow was a child and loved their liege as some of them also call him their father in their minds. I have gotten a report from Zetsu a couple minutes ago, the heroes in Okinawa are being too irresponsible. Can the near Hyenomus, Arch-Lich, Jima, all Nagas, the Rainbow Serpent and the Centaur go there until all of the gates are dealt with please? Izuku felt all of them bow as they left the shadow. I will talk with you 3 later. A smile came on Izuku's face as the 3 general rank shadows bowed and went into his shadow just in time for him to leave the bathroom with his hero's suit on. Tenchi, can I ask for a favor? Yes, darling. Gabriel asked as she stopped reading a book. Nizu wanted to talk to you. I don't know the reason though. This perked the curiosity of Nijire whilst Rumi didn't really care. The rat. I'll meet up with him after breakfast. With that she stood up and began helping Izuku in the kitchen. Sir Night Eye Agency. Izuku was walking with Rumi as he gave a small yawn. I sadly want more sleep. Me too. A yawn escaped of her mouth as well. This will be my first time actually seeing Sir Night Eye. Every time I talked with him was through All Might. The monarch spoke thoughtfully, he said goodbye with Nijire as she had to go to Ryukyu's agency beforehand. He may act serious, but he is one of the biggest All Might fanboys. Rumi joked. Oh, and we are going to travel to Canada tonight, you Mr. Need rest. She poked his chest with her finger. I was planning on going to Canada anyways, but I am happy that you are going too. Izuku's side hugged Rumi whilst giving her a kiss on her temple. In response, the shorter one of the 2 snuggled closer to Izuku. It is rare for only the both of us nowadays. Maruko nodded. Truth be told, I am happy about this. Sure, I don't mind Nijire and the angel, but it is nice being together. Then after a couple of seconds, although I do want to fight against you again soon. A bloodthirsty smirk appeared on her face. The last time the 2 actually fought or sparred at that matter was before Izuku went to USA for the 3-week internship. I would like that. I do need more experience against humans compared to monsters. What is power when you don't know how to utilize it? Izuku really wanted to improve, as the memories from his fight against Toji were still in his head. A jab was sent for Izuku's ribs. And I'll help you. Sure, I may not be a national rank, but I will help. Yet. I plan on making you and Nijire become national rank. I mean, look at you, Bun Bun. You are a high S rank now. Sure, you might be slightly weaker than Endeavor, but not for long. A wink was sent towards Rumi, having her eyes widen slightly. You don't need to, but I guess thanks. Sometimes I feel like I am using you in this relationship. Izuku squeezed Rumi's hand a little tighter. Believe it or not, but I feel the same. The three of you are the reason why I am happier. You helped me when my dad died. You even cried when I was injured from Toji. You take care of me. Quickly wiping of a tear. I love you, Izuku. I love you too, Rumi. With that, the two of them entered the room where the meet-up for the raid is. Welcome, Miruko, Monarch. Sir Night-Eye greeted respectfully, with a small smile. Mirai Sasaki wanted to meet Izuku in person to judge him. He was thankful about the young man healing his friend, but also curious why his quirk couldn't predict anything that involves the national rank provisional hero. Good to finally meet you, Sir Night-Eye. Izuku spoke as he walked up to the man, but made sure to use infinity to make a barrier of around 2 millimeters as he was about to shake that man's hand. The reason was for Night-Eye to not be able to use his quirk on Izuku, as the teen still didn't know how All Might's old sidekick's quirk worked fully. However, he theorized that the time aspect of infinity is the reason why foresight didn't work on him. The hero shook Izuku's hand, and did indeed try using his quirk, but it didn't allow him to. Why? Why can't I use it on him? I can still feel my quirk working, so it can't be Eraserhead, Mirai thought to himself. After a couple of minutes, everyone was present. Good morning, everyone. To quickly go over the plan again. After we present the warrant, myself, Bubble Girl, Centipeter, Lemillion, Rock Lock, Eraserhead, Fat Gum, Sun Eater, Miruko and Monarch will be going into the building, with a dozen of police officers. When we find Overhaul, Monarch and his shadows will deal with him. Miruko and Eraserhead will deal with Chronostasis. Finally, the rest will continue dealing with the grunts that number over 200. Understood. Everyone nodded. Sure, some didn't like each other, but they were heroes. And that is what Izuku hoped for as he could see Mirio's eyes narrow at him. Nijire and Ryuko came towards Rumi and Izuku. It is good to see you two again, Rumi, Izuku. Izuku smiled lightly and nodded in greeting, whilst hugging Nijire. You ready to kick some ass? Rumi spoke her own catchphrase. Indeed I am, although I must admit, isn't this a little too much for this raid? There is not only a national rank, 5 S ranks, a dozen of A rank heroes and some more. Ryuko gave a logical point. There must be a reason. Rumi shrugged as she sensed Shota walking towards them. The teacher greeted the two pro-heroines as he walked towards Izuku to talk more. The previous day, when Izuku came back with Zest, Shota was also in 1A's common room and took Zest to a spare teacher's room where she would live, like Nizu instructed. Now the two were discussing about how Izuku's couple days been. Outside of Overhaul's base. Sir Night-Eye, I can't sense anyone inside bar 2 individuals. Izuku spoke as he walked towards the organizer of the raid. All Might's old sidekick furrowed his eyebrows. My quirk told me that we would have to fight. Then he spoke. Who are the 2 individuals you sense, Monarch? One is underground, a child. The other person is on the ground floor, an elderly person, but he is in a medically induced coma, I'm pretty sure. Monarch stated. The police officer in charge of helping spoke. Sir Night-Eye, I believe we should go in now. Izuku looked at one direction for a couple of seconds. There is a gate, B rank and strength 2. I will be going in. With that, he jumped over the gate and ran towards the old man and teleported the two towards medics on standby. During this time, Eraserhead, Sir Night-Eye and Ryukyu rushed towards the little child's location, where they found her in a room and took the girl with the horn out. Izuku's eyes narrowed as he sensed 2 other people he didn't inform Sir Night-Eye about. He saw them freaking out and they jumped into the gate. Itachi, stand guard please. With that, Izuku jumped in behind, needing to talk to them for multiple reasons. Izuku gave a deadpan. A red gate, great. From the seams of it, it's a high A rank. The boss is at least S rank, but the underling's max strength is mid A rank then. Then he found the 2 individuals that tried hiding away behind some red rocks. Using gravity manipulation, he got the 2 closer to him. Himiko, Toga and Twice. Oh, it's Monarch. Oh no, we are captured. Twice spoke in panic. This is not nice, Izuku. Himiko pouted playfully. How about a truce for the time being? If you also answer some questions of mine, I will teleport the two of you to safety. Izuku spoke in a kind tone. Fine, I guess it's fine. With Twice nodding enthusiastically. Sighing gently, he placed the two down as he pointed his hand towards a location and made the monsters that were beginning to rush at them all go together in a group. Continuing using gravity manipulation, Izuku made all of the monsters that are named cursed spirits into one ball and crushed them all. The greenette then used fire manipulation and burned them, killing them all. Before we will talk, I must warn you of one thing. Those monsters are weak, D to C rank in strength, meaning the boss will most likely be high S rank or above. Understood. He never liked those kinds of gates, but he knew the total gate strength was the average of all auras together. Yes, boss man. Sure thing. Izuku guessed that Twice has a split personality. So what are your questions, Izuku? Himiko asked whilst leaning her upper body closer towards Izuku. But we have our own questions too. First thing first, did you know about Overhaul torturing a little girl with a horn? He spoke harshly. This would decide what he will do with the two. The two villains halted and stared in disbelief. He did what? That monster. However, Himiko was having flashbacks of what happened in her past. That gives me my response I wanted. Don't worry, that little girl is in safe hands now. Do you know why Overhaul or anyone else isn't there? Himiko spoke gently, thankful that a child was saved from the torture. Oh, they were dealt with a couple days ago. They did send an assassin after me, which mind you was a national rank villain, but they not only tortured a child, but experimented on people from the ages of 3 up to 35 years. How do you think they actually got all of the genetic information to make the quirk destroying bullets possible? Additionally, this Yakuza group dealt with quirkless and mutation-type human trafficking. Most of them are dealt with some going to be dealt with. Izuku explained as he occasionally killed of any monsters. The terrain had red skies, that consequently made the muddy ground have a red hue. I see, although this place is scaring me. The bloodsucker spoke. It is beautiful. It is scary indeed. Twice spoke. So, why have the League joined up with Overhaul? No offense, but I didn't think Tamura would go this low. I know, right? It was my fault for not knowing when I introduced them. Boss' plan was to eliminate them. Although we never knew about the experimentation or the human trafficking. We only knew about weapon, information dealing and muscle hiring. A shiver ran down Himiko's spine as the temperature of the surroundings lowered. Izuku threw 2 coats at the two gently. Wear them, I don't want either of you to get cold. Outside of the gate. I honestly question if Suku's luck is acting up these days. Rumi spoke as she tried breaking through the red gate, but it didn't work. Itachi began writing on a piece of paper, which Nijire spoke out loud for the couple of people who were there. Lady Rumi, Lady Nijire. My liege thought he found this gate suspicious, and he was correct. Lady Gabriel will be arriving any minute now. Then Nijire blinked. Why are you calling me Lady Nijire? You can call me Nijire. Then once again, a piece of paper was handed towards Nijire. Sorry, Lady Nijire. However, because you and Lady Rumi and our liege's girlfriends, but also you two are respected. Then out of nowhere the top of the building exploded. These are monstrosities. A shout was heard as one of the heroes was cut down, with them hearing guns shooting. Inside the gate, the trio were camping out as it was turning nighttime. Much to Himiko's and Twice's surprise, Izuku never really cared that the two were villains. Himiko was sitting around a campfire and cursed gently. Is everything okay, Himiko? My quirk, it needs me to drink blood. Himiko spoke gently. She did hope that Izuku will not reject her for her quirk like nearly everyone did before. However, her craving for blood was increasing. What the Monarch did was extend his left arm, whilst pulling the overcoat sleeve closer to his shoulder. Drink. He spoke gently. Her eyes widened. Are you sure? Like sure, I want to see you all bloody, but... Izuku gave a reassuring nod, and now Himiko gently bit Izuku and started to suck his blood out. Much to her surprise once again, Izuku's blood was the only ones that tasted amazingly, so good that her stomach was having butterflies. However, the duel was interrupted, when Twice spoke. Oh, someone is coming. Oh shit, someone is coming. Izuku sent out a wave of darkness overlord to capture the opponent, but in his perspective, it was cut. Izuku felt now, this monster was at least in the national category. No wonder why the monsters were weak, the boss is strong. The king of curses, Ryaman Sukuna. My love, I remember him. He is the second strongest in the command of the Monarch of the Iron Body's army. Tarnak is the king of monstrous humanoids, and Ryaman Sukuna, whilst he may look like a human, he is in the cursed category. Horatia spoke through the ring's communication. Thanks, I'll deal with him happily. Then out loud he spoke. Baru Mikhail. Protect Himiko and twice. This opponent is something else. A monarch, how interesting. And it seems you are protecting 2 humans. Then the 4 eyes narrowed. Why can I sense another monarch? A wild smirk appeared on his face when he released all of his aura. Never mind that, my master will be happy of what I'll bring him. Then he rushed towards Izuku. With the creator. He coughed into his hand and saw blood. My time is running dry. Please deal with them all, it'll be time when you unlock the true black heart, but until then be careful, my child. He coughed up again, with his blood having a black tint to it. Outside of the gate. No one could have predicted the shitstorm. Due to no one being next to the gate, they couldn't see that the gate's rank went up to S rank, then national rank. Mind you, this was the average. Every hero and police officer, with Itachi, Slimy, Aleshi, and 8-winged angel with both Luna and Donald were helping defeating the monsters that did not look like monsters. Before Kai Chisaki died, he had employed one person, a teleporter. The task of the teleporter was to send every monster that overhaul modified at the time when the raid would commence. Itachi produced fire that was enhanced by the angel's wind, that burned half a dozen monsters. Donald rushed towards a large monster and smashed his horns through its body, killing it. Luna jumped from Donald's back and jumped from a building to kill of a flying modified insect, slashing its neck it killed it. Leshy was dealing with a dozen of monsters, extending its arms to produce wooden spikes. Some of its body was turned to ash from one of the monsters shooting metal spikes. Nijire flew upwards with her quirk, pressing a button on her new bracelet, it transformed into a bow. This was a present to help her use her quirk in a different way. Flashback. Nijire, I have something you might like. Izuku spoke as he gave a bracelet towards Nijire. Thanks, a bracelet. What's this? The brunette asked whilst looking intently, then she accidentally pressed something on the bracelet and squeaked. The bracelet turned into a bow. The bow was made from wood that had golden and obsidian engravings on it. The string had a blue glow to it. The bow of energy arrows. It uses your quirk to make arrows of different types. Let's say, you use 10% and that will make an arrow of the same power that you could shoot. Then he pointed at the ends. It has 2 functions though, the first is the normal shot. The second one is multi-shot, being able to shoot up to 10 arrows at once. If you infuse the explosion power, you can make those arrows also explode. Izuku was about to continue but was quieted by Nijire kissing him. The greenette got this for Nijire as he remembered that it was hard for his girlfriend to pierce things with her normal waves, and Izuku wanted her to be safe. Thanks. I love it. A beautiful smile was on her face as she looked with awe at it, then it turned back into a bracelet. Name. Bow of Energy Arrows, Item Class. A. Type. Bow. Attack plus 200. The bow that automatically creates arrows from the user's infusion of energy. The strength depends on the amount of energy infused. It has 2 modes, singular and multi-arrow. It can turn into a bracelet. Singular mode. Shoots 1 arrow. Multi-arrow mode. Shoots up to 10 arrows. Flashback end. Whilst Nijire hasn't touched a bow in ages, her pinpoint was surprisingly good, killing off any monsters that came closer to the police officers or the civilians. She saw her teacher dealing with some of the monsters that size was bigger. Rumi, on the other hand, was using her legs to kick and kill of the monsters. Izuku helped her gain strength, and it was showing as Rumi was barely seen by an untrained human eye. I hope Zuko is fine, this here isn't that bad. Then as luck has it, she cursed under her breath seeing the lone but big monster that was flying leisurely towards her. In S rank I see. It is similar to a Nomu, but only using monsters. Overhaul that sick bastard. Then she rushed forward, trying to kick the head of the monster but was blocked by its arm. Using Dominator's touch, she got herself to it, and using her dagger she cut off one its arms. Jumping onto a wall of a building, she sprang back as the monster used some kind of weak poison mist, but her regeneration helped deal with that. Maruko saw Nijire distracting the monster by shooting an arrow that explodes at its side, that allowed herself to do her ultimate move. Luna Fall. With that she caved the head of the monster, with the 8-winged angel finishing it by shooting a concentrated light beam through its body, killing its regeneration factor. Omake. Walking down the street in casual clothes, Izuku was thinking of what to buy his girlfriends. Then suddenly a magic circle appeared under himself and 3 other teens. Not knowing better, Izuku suppressed his power and now was in front of what seemed to be human magicians. Is that a princess? Oh great heroes, please save us from the Demon King. He has been terrorizing the lands. The princess spoke pleadingly. What bull, never mind that, she is faking it. Izuku thought to himself. But how miss, we are all powerless. One of the 3 students spoke. One of the mages spoke. Worry not, whilst you have teleported here you were given powers. With that a magical device was pointing towards each of the 3, with each of them having some sort of powerful and holy powers that could defeat the Demon Lord. When it was Izuku's turn, he was surprised that he got online shopping. The young man then realized that his powers of the system were not captured from that device. Now the 4 were in front of the king, who looked obese with him and his wife wearing gold, diamonds, and the like. Izuku ignored them saying about how they are poor from the Demon King, and when it was quiet he spoke. Excuse me, my power is completely useless against the Demon King's army. Would it be possible if I leave? And they agreed with them giving him 20 gold coins. The system's gold can't be transferred into this world's currency. As he was receiving looks, Izuku quickly bought some second-hand clothes that made him fit with the crowd, as he did realize it was close to the medieval time. I need to find a way back home, but I guess I can get some vacation time. Now the Greenet was asking some people some questions. With that he quickly got on the carriage to a town on the outskirts of the kingdom. After the meeting with Gabriel, with Nizu only sighed as he watched Gabriel break another wall. If only I could have asked Izuku first, but no, they wanted to talk with one of his girlfriends. He looked over at his screen that displayed a hanged-up video call message. The chimera-like animal narrowed his eyes as his mind was going through 1,000 possibilities a second. I need tea. With that he pressed a button on his desk where a tea set was summoned. I need to thank Izuku for this gift once again. The magical tea set began pouring one of Nizu's favorite teas into a cup, that the quirk animal took gladly and took a sip. I wonder how the raid is going. That was Nizu's final thought as he turned on the cameras to watch the outside of the raid, and once again he narrowed his eyes. How low did Overhaul fall? Outside of Overhaul's base, Rumi took in a breath as she jumped from the ground to another monster. Those so-called monsters were an amalgamation of at least 3 or 4 different beasts joined together, with what she might guess was Overhaul's quirk. The monster that she slashed with her dagger had bat-type wings that were connected to a skeletal middle body, with its arms and legs being from a yeti. There is no end to these fuckers, the number 6 hero thought to herself. Itachi knew what was happening inside the gate, but was thankful that he stayed outside as he didn't want his liege to suffer more if his girlfriends were injured. The Sharingan user knew that both Rumi and Nijire won't die from the weaklings that were attacking them, but he knew that his liege's teacher and friends could be harmed if not killed. Throwing a dozen kunais infused with fire, it pierced a dozen monsters in the head perfectly. Thanks Itachi? Shota nodded as he stabbed another monster in the side as he used his capture gear to swing from one lamppost onto another monster, killing it. Or maybe I don't need to worry about him, Itachi thought as he sweat dropped seeing the man his liege called a teacher kill of another one. However, he did wonder if he and Shota Aizawa are from the same family, if he had one from the previous life, as both had red eyes when they turn on their powers, have black hair and are good at combat. Shrugging at that thought, Itachi spat fire out, protecting the police officers from a monster's water attack. Nijire was with Ryuko in the air dealing with a couple of flying monsters. They all had some type of wings that included feathered, leather or even bone wings. She wondered how her boyfriend was faring in the gate, but shook of those thoughts as she knew it would take a Monarch or one of their top commanders to even leave a scratch, right? With Izuku. Knowing that Twice and Himiko are safe with them being protected by Burrow and Mikhail, Izuku told his plan to his shadows in his mind. Looking over the second strongest in the army of the monarchs of the Iron Body Army, Izuku saw that Sukuna was a tall and muscular man with 4 arms, 4 eyes, and a large mouth on his stomach. The King of Curses had short pink-red hair, red eyes, with his 2 right eyes being angled differently and located on a white flesh plate-like structure on the right side of his face. His body was covered in tattoos that are mostly black lines and black circles, with him only wearing trousers. When Sukuna took a step, Acnologia's head popped out beneath him to try and eat him, but much to Izuku's slight shock, the dragon's head was cut and slashed, making its head go into shadows. Those puny tricks won't work on me, the King of Curses mocked. Narrowing his eyes, Izuku activated his Sharingan as he used sprint to get behind the pink-haired man as with him punching, or at least trying to as the monster dodged it barely. Summoning his spear, Izuku slashed upwards but had to activate Infinity to block Sukuna's attack. The King of Curses Raiman Sukuna is using Cleave. At the corner of the young monarch's vision, he saw that the rocks that were behind him were cut in two. An interesting technique. Could my gravity manipulation do something like that too? He mused as the two began a fight with their fists, although Izuku did get a punch or two through his guard, but Sukuna's face was bleeding from his nose. The King of Curses Raiman Sukuna is using Dismantler. What are those skills? Izuku thought, as it seems that Dismantler could be a higher version of Cleave, as using Infinity. Izuku blocked an attack that not only made a crater but everything around 400 meters was in small cubes. With Gabriel. Those insects, those morons, what the hell are they commanding me to do? Those ungrateful morons. I only listened to Darling. Do they wish to die? That was the strongest angel's thought process, as she was flying towards Overhaul's base. Whilst she understood that the rat couldn't reject them, her opinion on the humans of this world is lowering. Gabriel only respected 5 humans bar her liege, those being Nijire, Rumi, Shota, Kathleen, and Zest, even if the last one she barely respected. After the meeting, the UA building that was meant to withstand a 50% all-might punch had 5 new holes. Taking a deep breath, her flying speed increased and reached the location in mere seconds. Narrowing her eyes, she produced a dozen magic circles and shot hundreds of light spears at the modified monsters, killing them all. But Gabriel cursed when more of those chimera-type monsters were being teleported in. Lowering down, Gabriel asked, "Where is Darling and what is happening here?" To the closest human, that being a police officer. After a yelp, the female police officer that had antennas of an insect spoke. "Lady Gabriel, thank goodness. Monarch is inside the gate," however it turned red. As you can see, monsters that are modified to have at least 3 or 4 different monsters in one are being teleported. How? We don't know yet. Gabriel nodded as she produced a beam of lightning that went from one monster to another, killing them. Thanks. With that she flew higher and spoke to herself. Why is it always targeting us? I know that Darling is one of the strongest, but still. The angel sensed the gate ranking and was surprised that no one could sense the national level ranking of the gate. Of course Gabriel was worried, but now, as she summoned more light beams, she muttered, "Don't tell me the creator is making Izuku deal with the strongest of the monarchs and the ruler's armies. What is he planning?" With that she concentrated on finding the one who is teleporting those modified monsters. Whilst quickly shooting some monsters down, that seemed to be coming faster and faster, Gabriel's sense showed that the so-called teleporter was nearby. Flying to that location, the angel dived under the road and straight into a large underground room. Without wasting time, she used electricity to make the humans go unconscious. Seeming like she teleported, Gabriel used some electricity to knock what seemed to be the teleporter, who was standing over 180 centimeters tall, had shaggy yellow hair. But the thing that stood out was a tattoo that covered his face, that being of an Oni. Any available shadows come to my location. I need help getting those humans to the police. With that, Gabriel killed off the remaining monsters as she placed it in the shared inventory. With Himiko. One could describe her childhood as traumatic, with her feeling like she was caged. Once her quirk was discovered, her so-called parents' personality flipped, and that was the beginning of her days that she cannot replace. The final straw was when Himiko was falsely accused of murdering her classmate who she had a crush on, with this being the moment when she was also kicked out of her house. Himiko Toga has a quirk that for some is repulsive, but for others was useful. But without the proper help and support during her childhood, she went down the wrong path. But now, as the teen was looking with her friend, twice, as a hero student was fighting against a monster of unimaginable strength, it was something else. Like Tamura, she was never shown kindness by someone who didn't want to use them, and this young man even gave his arm for her to drink his blood. I am not made for fighting. I think Shigi said that I am a thief, gaming terminology, right? But she shook of her thoughts as Baru picked her up with twice as Mikao shot spikes from his mouth towards the boss as they escaped an AoE attack. I guess I am getting more into gaming, she thought to herself with a small smile. Although, Himiko did wonder what Izuku wanted to ask. Back with Izuku. A fist fight continued for another couple of minutes, and it was clear that Izuku had both the speed and strength advantage, but Sukuna had unpredictability. The Curse King jumped back from Izuku, knowing if things continued, he would die, but a light smirk appeared on his face. I will be back, Shadow Monarch. But next time you will have to face the full force of the Iron Body Monarch's army. With that, a green portal appeared before him as when Izuku rushed at him using sprint, the curse wasn't there no more. Skill. Hand-to-hand expert leveled up from level 6 to level 7. This is more troublesome than I thought. Quirk, how can I unlock my black heart fully? Izuku asked whilst taking a deep breath. Be aware, my love, but there is a requirement that you probably won't like. The Queen of Insects spoke with a hint of worry. Don't worry about it, Izuku reassured. Your human heart needs to go. However, you also need your full army that ASHBORN sealed to come to you. And lastly, but the simplest, is to have your own domain. Quirk explained through the ring's communication ability. Izuku stood there silent for a while but spoke. Thanks for telling me. Getting stabbed in the heart sure will be painful. He tried adding some humor to it, but even with the gamer's mindset, he was slightly worried. Shaking of the thoughts, he saw burrow and Mikao coming down to him with the two villains. My liege, I am sorry that I couldn't help you. Please forgive this foolish servant of yours. Burrow prostrated himself with tears coming down. My attack was easily deflected, my liege. I am sorry for not being of better help. Mikao spoke with 3 voices that perfectly. Don't worry, you two. Izuku patted the both of them on their shoulders. I am happy you protected Twice and Himiko. That was scary. Bro, that fight was amazing. Now Izuku was confused if Twice's real thoughts were the first or second sentence. What happened at the end? Himiko asked curiously as she hugged her coat tighter as it was cold. That monster left to his own dimension apparently. Izuku shrugged as he produced a letter. Give this to Dabi, please. And as promised, I will teleport the two of you out safely. With that, Izuku commuted Twice and Himiko without the two of them being able to say anything to a safe location far from the late Overhaul's base. Now with no other humans, Izuku spoke to himself as he looked at the store. Ah yes, here it is, although my gold is in its thousands now. He sweat dropped seeing that he finally got over 4 trillion gold got all spent on one item, a runestone. One of the conditions will be met now. With that he crushed the runestone. Alarm. New skill has been learnt. Skill. Dimension of the Monarch. Job-specific skill. No mana required to upkeep. A dimension that is 10 square kilometers. The land is habitable but it needs modifying to fit the owner's needs. Shadow soldiers can teleport there instantly, and can either go back to where they were or to the owner's shadow. The owner can form a black portal to enter into it. 100,000 MP to increase the land by 1 square kilometer. Congratulations. Now your body is getting adapted to host the full force of the Black Heart. Secret quest completed. Quest. Personal dimension. Make a dimension your own. Reward S. 1. All basic stats increase by +10. 2. HP increase by 10,000. 3. Elemental resistance +1 level. I guess my body is still too weak to manage the Black Heart. I guess I will be a little stronger before I fully unlock it. Accept all. With that, Izuku could feel the increase of power. I will check the dimension of the Monarch with the girls later. He thought to himself as he jumped out of the gate just to see that most of the surroundings were in rubble. So, what happened here? Izuku asked one of the heroes. You missed it, Monarch, but during the time you were completing the Red Gate. Monsters that have been modified have been teleported here. It is all dealt with and Lady Gabriel apprehended the teleporter. The hero was Fat Gum who was eating some yakisoba. The younger man just nodded as he went to look for Rumi, Nijire and Gabriel. With SUKUNA. I met the Shadow Monarch today, and he is strong. Although he has a barrier that blocks every attack of mine. A laugh could be heard. This was the strongest monster under the Iron Body Monarch's army. I will adapt and overcome it. I always do and I will win. Omake. Izuku was near the chimney sitting area reading a large book named Support Equipment Production for Dummies. Why might one ask? Because helping both May and Melissa was his luck, allowing him to say the correct things. How on earth does the string theory apply in this? Izuku muttered to himself as this dummy book was going over stuff that he wouldn't even touch upon even if he did the support course. The camera was zooming out of Izuku and onto his bookshelf. There were 4 books that stood out the most that Izuku read. Being a Hero for Dummies. Being a Boyfriend for Dummies. How to Act Like a Ruler for Dummies and Ruling Over the World for Dummies. Nizu still didn't believe Izuku when he said that he got it from a man in an alleyway in exchange for some KFC. I see, so I can create a portal from the battery straight to the output for the most efficient use. Izuku never knew that this would be impossible without this book, and never knew why the support equipment that he helped May develop was banned from being sold by both Nizu and Power Loader. with Dabi. Looking curiously towards the letter he was given by Toga after they were sent away by Monarch, the cremation quirk user opened it when he was in his room. It read, "Hello Dabi, or should I say Toya Todoroki. Don't ask me about how I know, but I am here to say one thing. Your sister misses you. I have heard from her about you and I want the two of you to meet. I promise you that you won't be captured, but also, I will heal your life force. I did some research. When the incident occurred, the doctor who healed you used your life force to heal you incorrectly, with you losing it faster than ever. I want Shoko to be happy, so please let meet on January 11th, on Shoko's birthday. My shadow soldier will help you get to the location. P.S. Tell Tamura Shigaraki to be wary of the doctor, he isn't loyal to All for One." A troubled look came from Dabi's face. Not only did Izuku know about his actual identity, but also about the meeting and the other facts he did not know. Roughly rubbing his head, a groan came out of his mouth as he burnt the letter. He didn't have any negative feelings towards Shoko. She was the only family member that loved spending time with him, even when she was a baby. He whispered to himself at the end. He knows all of this and could have captured us easily. What is his game? A light smirk came on his face. He began liking Izuku more and more. He stood up and walked towards his boss's room to secretly tell him what he found. Post-overhaul raid meeting. Izuku just groaned mentally as he finished his report of the gate and his findings. It does seem weird that no one was there, although I wonder if they truly left, as it seems the girl, Eri, was the blood source of the quirk destroying bullets. Sir Night Eye spoke his mind. The two of them were in a room that had the man's sidekick and intern, Ryukyu, Fat Gum, Bubble Girl, Centipeder, and a police officer. Some heroes were not present because they were not important for the whole operation or had other business. Maruko was one of those people. She asked Izuku to sit in for her, the excuse, girl talk. Eraserhead was in the hospital monitoring Eri. We have inspected every room, but after those modified monsters came to us, it was harder for us to gather evidence of any kind. Still, we found that they did not leave, and a teleportation quirk was not a reason that could make them leave. The one who teleported those monsters only had the ability to teleport anything under the weight of 2 tons, that is in a 5-meter radius from him, to anywhere within 20 kilometers. The police officer, who was the head police of the raid, concluded his findings. His quirk was called History. It allowed him to look into the past of one place up to 30 minutes. I'll have my shadows look out for them, although I did find something that could be of interest to you all. Izuku spoke as he produced a box with a single bullet, with him storing the 4 others secretly. Whilst helping to clean up, one of my shadows found this. He passed it around. After getting a sample from Fat Gum, I can conclude that this is the final product. But there was only one. The room went silent. If what Izuku said was true, then it was worrying, as 4 of them were missing. I will take this for further investigations. Thanks, Monarch. The police officer spoke with a nod, which Izuku nodded back. The meeting continued for another hour. When they were about to leave, Izuku walked towards Sir Night Eye. Sir Night Eye, I have a question about something. All Might's old sidekick nodded for Izuku to continue. Star and Stripe informed me that I should have been informed about Russia asking me to help complete the S-rank gate. Why haven't I? The Greenette used his normal tone but leaned against the side of a table. Sir Night Eye looked puzzled for a couple of seconds. Monarch, we were never informed that Russia wanted your help. He was the one that dealt with foreign affairs for the HXH. He was supposed to get information from other countries to ask for help. It was weird that you went to Russia, without us asking for you to help. But I may have an idea why. Follow me. Izuku nodded. A small picture of what might actually happen was starting to form. With Rumi, Nijire, and Gabriel. The 3 were back in Izuku's room. At that point, all of the 3 acknowledged that their boyfriend's room not only is their base of operations but their house. Getting straight to the point, Rumi started as Nijire passed a cup of tea to them each. Gabriel, you changed. After the dragon dungeon something occurred, and when you arrived you were deadlier. She slightly narrowed her eyes. Rumi will get to the bottom of this. Nijire only looked between the 2 sister figures, not knowing what to say, but internally nodded slightly when she realized the slight differences in the angel's behavior. The angel, on the other hand, just looking into her tea for over 10 seconds and started. We, meaning myself and the Shadow Army, don't want anything to happen to Darling. Her voice was slightly somber. When we found out that Hisashi was killed, I saw the pain, the anger, the distraught that was on Darling's face. Do you know how that hurt, seeing, knowing that we could have done something but didn't? I know Darling would have revived his dad to say a final goodbye, but he already lost too much. I just don't want Darling to experience more loss, especially the ones he loves the most. At this point, Nijire and Rumi both hugged Gabriel, both acknowledging the pain in her voice, with Rumi asking her rival in a gentle tone, "What happened today then?" The pro-heroine knew the feeling of losing her parents, as both of them were killed in a planned villain attack. World's Hero Association called. They wanted to talk with me, with Nizu being there too. World's Hero Association, otherwise known as the WA, is an organization that overlooks heroes as a whole, with them deciding who is national rank to name one. Whilst they did not have total control of how a country's hero agency is run, they can influence it to a certain degree, but when the leaders interfere, that is a different story. What did they want? This time it was Nijire who asked, but before Gabriel could ask, a magician and Conan materialized next to them. "I am sorry for the interruption, but we believe you should see this." Conan spoke as the magician produced a black smoke circle with a live viewing of where Izuku and Sir Night-Eye were talking, with them just entering the hero's office. The magicians were able to access more spells as they increased in rank, with being able to see into other areas undetected being one. Back with Izuku and Sir Night-Eye. Once in Sir Night-Eye's office, Izuku sat in front of the hero's desk whilst the older man sat in front of Izuku. Night-Eye continued, "I don't know if All Might told you, but you are the center of all paperwork. What most of them are is either to know more about you, to get a supply of your potions, to buy a shadow soldier as a bodyguard, and even marriage requests for alliances." Izuku leaned back on the chair slightly and stayed silent. He didn't even know what to say, but Sir Night-Eye allowed him to think. A minute passed when the Greenette asked, "Could one of those people be interfering with the call from Russia for help?" Nizu did some digging and found out who it was, World's Hero Association. Both Izuku and his girlfriends who were watching all were quiet, digesting the facts. The Shadow Monarch looked up after some pondering. "Do you know a reason why? Many lives could have been lost. I am lucky that I have poison resistance, as if that gate was broken, not only Russia would have fallen. The boss of that gate could have easily defeated Vladimir even without the poison." He continued using a calm tone, but Sir Night-Eye heard a wisp of anger towards the Wa. "How much do you know about the Wa?" Mirai asked, his voice gentler than usually heard. He understood that if Izuku didn't arrive on time, more death would have occurred. A hero at heart, like any pro-hero supposed to, that is why All Might chose him to be his only sidekick. Each country has a representative in the Wa as a voice, but the leaders are always from one family. They were the one who organized this at the beginning of the Quirk era. Not only are they considered one of the richest families in the world, but one of the most powerful and influential. Correct, but what you may not know is that they have branches. The Hero Branch, which is the public one, Espionage Branch and Assassination Branch that are intricately connected. There is also the Market Branch and the most recent branch, the Hunter one. That is why I asked you to come to my office, as the Espionage Branch is the best in the world with them knowing nearly anything and everything. Although they don't know of you in general, about your quirk and the impossible things you can do." A sigh escaped the man's mouth. Izuku was an enigma and he understood that the fewer that knew of Izuku's powers the better. Going back to the paperwork, Wa are the ones that want to monopolize you, in both with your loyalty, but also with potions, shadows and everything you can do in general. All Might and Nizu have a lot of influence, but I recommend for you to do one thing, Izuku Midoriya, as the two of them won't be enough. A penetrative stare went towards the young man. Expand your influence as you were doing, so the Wa could do practically nothing against you. You have strong ties to Star and Stripe, Vladimir, and some countries. Talk with Nizu to find out more. It went without saying, the more influence Izuku had, the less he could be touched. Thanks, Sir Night-Eye. Izuku bowed in gratitude, and with that the meeting between the two ended. Back with Rumi, Nijire and Gabriel. Everyone was quiet with Conan speaking first. "I will excuse myself." Receiving a nod from Gabriel, the Shadow left to continue her patrol of the south of Tokyo. Many of the Shadows were chosen to patrol all of Japan. As was promised during the Hoxa meeting, it was also a way of increasing their level easily. Both Rumi and Nijire were thinking about the situation, the new information that they gained. Gabriel, on the other hand, was thinking on a different wavelength, as she wasn't born on this world and had different beliefs. On one hand she was thinking about just destroying Wa, but on the other hand she was cursing humanity. Nijire then spoke after a couple minutes. "You still haven't told us why the Wa wanted to see you, and not meet with Zuzu instead." A light groan escaped Gabriel's mouth, then she spoke. "Nizu explained to me before the meeting that originally wanted Darling to meet with them, but he blocked their contact. A meeting with me was the next best thing. The first question they asked me was, with Izuku. After leaving Sir Night-Eye's agency, Izuku jumped from building to building with a leisurely pace, thinking. Using his mana, he summoned Quirasha from the ring with her appearing in her miniature form. "Where are you going, love?" "Yue is in a different direction," she asked as she sat on Izuku's shoulder. The greenette kept quiet for a short while, but then he answered. "I need to think over some stuff. A lot has been going on, and personally it's a little hard to keep up." After that neither one of the two spoke, both in their heads, but Izuku then stopped with him being in front of some doors. Realizing whose doors it was, he got out his key and opened it, revealing it was his old apartment. "I haven't been here since Yue started." Flying around, the Queen of Insects asked. "Is this your house?" Her attention centered around a picture of 3 people, with her only recognizing one of them. There was light dusting around the apartment, and on top of the picture frames. Walking towards her, Izuku spoke, explaining the picture. "That is a picture of my parents and I." Quirasha knew from talking with her love and his girlfriends that his mother passed away after a villain attack, with his father becoming an angel. Izuku placed a finger on top of Quirasha's head with him infusing more mana of his to enter her, with that she grows to a height of 4 feet. Some sweat could be seen on Izuku's face, with him saying, "Even with all of my mana, that is how much I could summon of you." Looking at her larger body, Quirasha spoke. "Thanks, love, but how come?" There was some curiosity in her tone why Izuku poured all of his MP into her. "I still don't know the answer to that, but I can say that if we had fought then I don't know if I would have won." Izuku shrugged as he began preparing some tea for both. The female monarch walked towards Izuku and took the cup of tea that Izuku offered as the two went towards a balcony. Looking over Muzurifu from the balcony, the plague monarch asked, "Do you have any idea what to do with the Wa?" Her outer expression might not show it, but inside she was worried about the one she called love. "I can't really go and take over Wa without consequences like I did with the Hero Commission." What Sir Knight I said had some merit. Sure, I may be called the strongest human, but I am still a child, someone who isn't an adult yet. There was silence after this, but Izuku continued after taking a calming breath. "Not long ago I was a quirkless nobody, that had a dream of becoming a hero to save people with a smile on their face. Nearly everyone wanted for me to give up, and most of the time it wasn't because they were worried for my safety." Izuku saw his own breath, as he realized winter was coming. This world is a cruel one, filled with suffering, pain, sadness and greed, but still there are beautiful things that could be seen. That is my goal, to lessen the cruelty that happens on this world, although I can't call myself a saint either as I killed or ordered to kill. However, there are those who thrive in this cruelty. That is the reason why Wa still exists to this day." Quirasha took in everything and finally spoke. "From the short time I saw Earth, I could feel and tell that this world was meant to be destroyed. One of my abilities is to commune with nature, to be more precise, with the insects and the plagues. The information I gathered is that humans are a race that would eliminate themselves first. No wonder why the ultimate being created the so-called gods. It's for them to make sure humans didn't do anything stupid, right?" She nodded her head. "Long before humans existed, the ultimate being created a tower." Izuku rose his eyebrow in curiosity. "The tower was used for training most of the time when us monarchs and rulers were young and were still weak. It was filled with mazes, dungeons with monsters, ruins, a place that is a dream for any explorers. Having around 100 floors, no one conquered it, but that was something we all agreed on, was that it was fun. Unfortunately, it was destroyed at the end." Getting the memo, Izuku spoke. "You are saying I should create a tower too? The heavens and demon towers were basic ones, I guess." Quirasha nodded with her explaining further. "The dimension of the monarch skill you have, it is a unique skill that only you and the ultimate being has. You can control the laws of that world, meaning if you make it so, then no one dies." A knowing smirk appeared on her face. Leaning his body on the railing, Izuku continued. "If I make the dimension accessible to the public, not only can I make the tower but other possibilities as well." Taking out his phone, the greenette looked on the internet and found some stories that had towers as their theme. A little smirk appeared on his face with him saying, "How about we make it? Not only could I make a new currency being gold, but it will also be a fun project." A smirk appeared on her face, with her leaning towards Izuku and seductively whispered, "Indeed, my love." A couple of hours later in Izuku's dorm. After the talk, Izuku decided to clean up his apartment with Quirasha's help, with him deciding to put the apartment up for rent. He needed a legitimate way of making money. Izuku did realize that he was breaking the Japanese economy slightly with the gold to yen conversion. On the way back, the two got some takeout, and when they teleported towards Izuku's room with Kamui, they were met with his 3 girlfriends having expressions of anger, frustration, and irritation. Did anything happen? Izuku asked uncertainly whilst placing the takeout onto the main sitting room table. Suku, you might have to hear this. Rumi spoke as she went up and kissed Izuku as he and the Queen of Insects sat on the couch, with no one paying the female monarch any interest with her change of size. Rumi looked towards Gabriel, with him understanding and looking towards her too. Darling, I had a call with Wa in the morning. The angel spoke with some hesitance. The rat told me why they wanted to call me instead of you first. Everyone was paying attention even though Rumi and Nijire heard it already. They want you to be an A. Omake. Izuku was sitting on a roof for a 5-minute break during his patrol. He was currently patrolling Muzurifu with his one and only sensei. Why do you want me to patrol with you, sensei? Izuku asked as he took the offered jelly pack. He still didn't know why Shota wanted to patrol with him. Simple. I need protection from someone. Narrowing his eyes, Izuku asked. You don't mean Mrs. Joke. Or are you talking about the vigilante cat lady? There was a recent vigilante that wore a black cat costume. There was a problem with her though. Cat lady was in love with Eraserhead. Both. Eraserhead spoke quietly. They are behind me, are they not? He asked in a nervous and frightened nod. A slight nod was given by Izuku. With at that moment Eraserhead sprung back to life and sprinted away with the two running behind him. Izuku's sweat dropped and continued sucking the jelly out of the jelly pack. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.